A good evening. Anyway, we'll just before I go off some weird tangent or say something really dumb, just let me hit the record button, and then we shall proceed with the Liberty Talk.
The Constitution isn't just a document. It's a blueprint for freedom. We're breaking down politics at every level, exposing government overreach, and going where the mainstream media surely won't. Join us in defending individual rights against the bureaucratic tide. You're listening to the Missouri Liberty Report.
All right, folks, we are back for another free-for-all edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. How generic was that? How vanilla for me just to say free-for-all. But that kind of describes what that best describes the show tonight. I mean, we got so many things we could talk about, and there's so much stupid on the internet right now that this show could go on till midnight, and we just probably wouldn't run out of topics or stupid things that we've seen to discuss. Let me start off by saying this, okay? So I posted some photos of something that I captured in a field off the side of a highway, way up, like not way up, but pretty up in the northern Missouri, right on Sunday. I post the pictures. People are like, wow, cool shots, blah, 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 whatever. But then somebody's like, oh, what a freak putting this crap on there. Like, oh, what a dummy and yada, yada, yada. And people putting freaky stuff on social media nowadays. And it's like, they're nature photos. Now, somebody about 2 responses down says, take your medication. You probably voted for Kamala. Okay. Listen, I don't mind if somebody makes a statement like that and you want to make fun of them. I'm okay. Here's part of the problem. Every time you see a post, not every time, but a lot of time you see posts about something, it might be something very generic, or you post some funny meme, right? Some douche canoe always has to inject politics into it. Like, we don't have to do that. It's lit. I'll pull up the pictures, right? Listen, I don't want to sound like, I don't ever want to sound arrogant. I don't want to be an arrogant jerk, right? These are once in a lifetime photos for me. I captured something crazy. I got home hoping that they were as sharp as they looked, and some of them turned out very well, right? So I posted them on socials because I was like, for me, it was one of the most amazing feelings I've had photographing wildlife. Okay, so I was like, holy smokes, this is crazy. Like, I showed my son one of the pictures and his jaw dropped. I was like, dude, right? It was just off in a field in this Highway CC out by Minden, Missouri, right? Never been there before in my life. But I just wanted, I want to bring this up. Oh, what am I doing here? Here we go. Oh, wait. I need to get the right stuff up first. I should do that before I do anything something stupid here. And, all right. So let me just pop this up here real quick. Again, this is not me like, ooh, look how awesome I am. I'm just saying that I want to show you the photos. So if you're listening to the audio version of this, pop on over to YouTube or Rumble so you can see the photos, and then you can see what I'm talking about, where this has nothing to do with politics, right? Nothing, absolutely nothing. Let me share the photo, right? This is just a bald eagle who's got a hold of a raccoon carcass, right? And he's flying off. You can see like I don't know, whatever this might have been, soybean field or whatever, but there's clippings flying off. I caught that detail, right? So it's just a raccoon. That's really my favorite right there. That one, is it that one? No, this one is my favorite. Love this shot, right? It's nature. But the comments, like, do we have to do this? Do we have to make these comments? This is not a political post. This is just nature photos, right? That's all it is. And it'd be, oh, I bet you vote for Kamala Harris, like, please don't do that. So if I post nature photos and you don't like them, you can post that you don't like it. There one woman, I guess she's like, I just could really go without seeing these. I'm like, well, then go to keep scrolling, lady. I don't know what you I'm like, oh, this might upset Karen. I better not post it. No, there's some of that's probably the best wildlife photography that I have captured yet. So I'm going to post it. It helps spread my photography things around. So I'm going to post these things. And, some nature freak might like, I want to buy that photo, so whatever. But it doesn't have to turn political. Please stop doing that. You look like it. You look like a moron. Now I say that. And then we have, let me get back to my saved stuff. I just want to, all right, I don't need, let me just pull up her whole page. Listen, folks, Brandon and I could spend 2 hours making fun of this person. Will we? No, we want to get into other things, but because it's, I was just on Facebook showing a post, I'm going to show you. And because of this whole government shutdown, right? I want to, this woman needs help. She kind of does. So let me scroll to some of the posts that she had, because some of them are hilarious. Let me get down here. I think the Senate Democrats just traded my health care for a flight to Indianapolis. Now she's reposting something else. I'm a moderate, but there's nothing moderate about caving to an authoritarian who hasn't given an inch. That's just cowardly and ineffective. And if you can't do better, don't run for re-election. They're mad at these Democrats who voted in the Senate. It's never a fair fight when you're forced to legislate with evil, soulless bastards.
Wait. So I'm just really, really quick, if maybe you could clarify this here.
Okay.
We are cutting Obamacare spending, but still spending more money in the budget. How is that even possible? Like, is that what they're upset about? Because it was ending the ACA, these ACA credits, right? That was what the big fight was
from
about.
The COVID era. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, and we're still spending more money. Like, where's the budget's increasing, the debt is increasing faster. That just is like I don't know. This whole the shutdown bothers me particularly because the Democrats are fighting Biden level spending. Like, that's what the Republicans have put forward, and that's what the Democrats are fighting. Like, that's the insanity to me. So yeah, this makes Jess Piper that much more insane for that last one.
Yeah, I mean, so I saw people posting, like, I'll never find it now. Okay, so yeah, any deal that ends with Dems. Now, this is a repost from Representative Malcolm Kenyatta. Any deal that ends with Dems just getting a pinky promise in return is a mistake. The American people are suffering because Republicans refuse to stop healthcare costs from skyrocketing. An agreement that doesn't fix that reality falls massively short. Listen, on that alone, we could go on for hours, right? I saw all these people. We want more subsidies for healthcare. And I'm just like, okay, at some point you have to call people morons. I know that's not very like inclusive of me, but you clearly don't understand. Everything that gets subsidized gets more expensive. College education, anything that has corn in it got more expensive, right? Because corn subsidies. Duh. Nope. I want more subsidies. Right. So then what are you going to say when your premiums or your copays or whatever go up or your deductibles go up? What are you going to do? Well, at least I have health insurance. Yes, you might. Very, very costly health insurance. And these people are just crying. I just watching people cry out for their shackles to be tightened even tighter around their ankles and wrists is absolutely mind-boggling to me. I'm struggling not to like, okay, I don't know about you, Brandon. You ever see something and you just want to like take your fists and like punch the screen because you can't believe somebody's that stupid and that you're having problems fathoming the lack of knowledge or the shallowness, because it's not the depth of knowledge, right? It's the shallowness of knowledge that they have on a particular topic that should be like third grade education level stuff. And it really, really starts getting to me to watch people actively crying out for bigger government, thinking it's going to save them from something. And it just makes my head hurt.
Oh, with the first thing that came to my head when you were describing punching your screen, reading their tweets was Randy Fine, but we can get to Randy Fine later on. No, so
For sure.
like with particularly when you're talking about subsidies, healthcare should be the number one example. I really can't think of too much of a better example of the government subsidizing something and directly, like before Obama left office in 2016, like in the time span that Obamacare was passed to the time whenever Obama left office, everyone's health insurance premiums who didn't qualify for the tax credit, their premiums went up through the roof because you can't subsidize something like this. Is going to sound socialist, so don't mistake my point on this at all. But if you're going to like give government subsidies for health insurance, you would think you would almost have to cap premium levels because you're giving all of these health insurances reasons that like to maximize their own profits. They don't have to start offering everybody the same price healthcare and more people can afford it to maximize profits, which is what companies do. They find the level where they can raise the premiums where now the people getting $300 a month in credits can afford your health insurance and the people without those credits can afford your health insurance. And so you've got you've just got companies that you opened the door, you opened the levee to letting them raise their premiums on everyone and only benefiting the people who qualify for basically their entire healthcare premium to be covered. But once you start making upwards of like $50,000, $70,000, you don't qualify for any of those subsidies anymore. So then you're just paying the flat new premium, which could be like $400 or $500 a month. And that's for like a single person looking for good health insurance. A family of like four, someone makes $100,000 on the open market. They're going to get gouged, like probably close to $1,000 a month on a premium. And I mean, you're just killing the middle class when you do that because yeah, rich people can afford health insurance and now poor people can afford health insurance because you're subsidizing the entire thing. But when you're right there in the middle trying to buy a house in your late 20s, early 30s, it's damning. And like when you're talking about government subsidies, like I said, that should be the number one, like, holy cow, we need to be super, super careful because any subsidy will cause everything to go up across the board.
Yeah, and the thing is, between the healthcare and SNAP, those were the two biggest things, right? Those are the two biggest things that Democrats were losing their minds over. Now, mind you, none of them, we covered this last week. Again, Tom's right. The terminology isn't the best. Calling it SNAP a permanent law. Excuse me. But it has nothing to do with the budget or a continuing resolution. Neither party wants to admit that, right? So they want to say, oh, Republicans are taking SNAP benefits away. Did your Republican friends tell you that it has nothing to do with the budget? Of course they didn't. Why? Because they want you fighting. They don't want their cult members to figure out how badly they're screwing them over. So it's much easier for them to deflect all the blame to the Republicans. Now, this is not me sticking up for the Republicans and saying they're right, okay? This is just me saying that both sides of the political aisle are playing the people like a harp from hell, okay? And if you can't figure that out, if you haven't figured that out by now, you have way bigger problems, right? You don't have, what is it? What's the saying? You don't have issues, you've got subscriptions, right? And that's been the most heartbreaking thing for me, right? Because you think sometimes like people are starting to come around. As soon as a government shutdown comes along, and you know this one's going on for over a month, and just watching people on the Republican side of the aisle and Democrats side of the aisle cheering for the government to reopen. And I'm sitting here like, maybe if it shuts down long enough, people will realize we don't need it. We don't need this bloated bureaucracy. We don't need these agencies. We don't need this. Now, what should have happened, and I didn't see a whole lot of it, was during the SNAP thing where they were like, saying we're not going to release any SNAP benefits to anyone. Everyone and their brother should have been like, great, let's get money to the food pantries. Let's donate money to the food pantries, and we'll help make it for the people that really need it. They'll still be able to get food, right? No, it was everyone screaming to get the government back open. Not a whole lot about charity, looking out for your neighbors. It's like, if there was a mention of neighbors, make sure you tell your neighbors that Republicans are responsible for no SNAP benefits, and that's why you're going to starve to death. But it wasn't, let's be charitable. Let's let the free market take care of this. Nope. Didn't hear any of that. You didn't see it. Not very much. Not enough. So just when you think sometimes that maybe people are starting to open up and gain a little sense, and figure out that, hey, maybe the government's not doing what's best for us, then the government comes along, shuts things down, holds back payments that shouldn't be, and then we watch the fighting between the two cults just go right back at it, and you lost any ground that you've gained in this fight to get people to think in a more liberty-minded sense. You've lost all that ground, or you've lost a good chunk of it. And you got to try to start all over and get people thinking like they should. And I don't know, dude. It just blows my freaking mind.
No, but here's the thing that I was trying to say whenever the SNAP benefits were being delayed and all of this, is that no one in America was going to, without a serious mental disorder, no one was going to starve to death. Like, that didn't happen though. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I would understand kind of what you were saying if someone would, if there would have been actual people really hungry and starving, and they would have been begging their neighbors for food, but you didn't see that. People were just complaining online they weren't getting their SNAP benefits. Pantry lines were long, but there were donations that went out. Like, people weren't just as far as I know, I don't know of a massive number of all the 40 million people who were on SNAP. I didn't see 40 million people posting about how hungry they were this weekend. You know what you get? Do you kind of understand what I'm saying though? Is that the SNAP benefits in reality, first of all, I'll just go out and say it. 40 million people probably don't need government food assistance. They could probably just spend budget a little bit better. And then also on top of that, 70% of the people receiving SNAP benefits already have a job. And so more likely than not, what you see is people just shifting around money. Instead of having a little bit of money to go out and have fun, they just didn't have that. They had to spend that money on food until the SNAP benefits are coming back and probably retroactive. So you'll get your money back in one way or another. And so, but I do understand your point, the larger point, and I agree with what you're saying more as the whole, is that whenever you hear a story like, oh, the government's going to stop sending out food aid, a bunch of people should have stepped in right there and been like, actually, if anybody's hungry, there's going to be food at all of these churches. All of these churches have taken donations, and they're all going to be passing out food, and we no longer need SNAP. That should have been a wake-up call to the American people, and it was not at all. The one thing I will say is that the people I talk to, in my circles and at work, I'm like, do you guys even notice the government being shut down? And almost none of them do. No one even has any, a couple people have been flying out, And I guess, you know, because some TSA and air traffic controllers are not working, that flights can't go. But other than that, like other than the people flying out, which doesn't tend to be, you know, super lower and middle class flying out all over the place. Didn't
You
really
know,
they didn't really see much of a difference. So hopefully some people from this do wake up and they go, "You know what? You're right. We had government shutdown for 40, 41 days now, and I did not feel a difference."
yeah, and you know, and going back to the food thing, you know, it's just when we have these opportunities, right? When we see people saying whatever dumb thing they're saying, like about SNAP, okay? And again, those payments should have, whether we like it or not, whether we agree with the SNAP program or not, in all reality, those payments should have just went out automatically, okay? Should have never been affected. But when things like this come up, this is the time where we preach charity. This is the time when we preach um, the faultiness of government programs and how both sides use an issue to keep people fighting. And to get people out of that, you have to show some charity, right? You have to say, listen, folks, there's another way. I promise you. And it'll be much less costly than the way they're doing it. And it seems like these opportunities slip through the fingers because even charitable organizations go, yeah, I don't know what we're going to do. The government shut down and they're not releasing funds. Okay. Do fundraisers, do something, show that we have the ability to rise above this, but you don't. And that's the worst part. It's just like during COVID, right? During COVID, there was a whole lot of people who chose to just be quiet because they didn't want to be accused of killing their grandma. And when a business owner would fight back, a lot of other business owners would not come to their rescue and say, we're all in this together. Right? Those opportunities slip away. And that's something that we just can't allow to happen. These opportunities, again, no one wants to see people starving to death, right? But if you're really going to do something, if you're thinking right and you really want things to get done well, the last thing you will do is go, we got to hurry up and get the government involved. No, because that means it's going to get messed up. That means it's going to be more expensive. It's going to take longer. You're going to have fiery freaking hoops to jump through. And it's going to get abused. So we should not be going, yeah, we gotta just try to, get these people to hurry up and get the government open back up. Good Lord. Here's another one. This one, I'm sorry. Are they lying? No, but the fact is, when Biden was saying the same thing, they were quiet. After reading statements and watching press briefings, it seems Trump is going to address sky-high prices by lying about sky-high prices. That's really weird because Biden also said it was the greatest economy in the world, and you guys didn't say a freaking thing. So I can't take this seriously when you post this stuff like that. I can't.
Oh, yeah. No, I will say,
Jesus.
Can we talk for like 5 minutes, though, about how stupid Donald Trump's proposals are for fighting high prices? Like, dude, I can't, as much as I hate like the hypocrisy, because I don't want to gloss over what your point here is that you're absolutely right. Whenever the Democrats are lying about inflation, because sometimes, like when Joe Biden first took office, we had just got done printing trillions of dollars. I mean, we were going to have some inflation no matter what, but for some reason, Joe Biden could not just say that. Like, he couldn't just say, yeah, prices are going to go back. They're like, oh yeah, inflation is transitory. I remember it's still pinned on my X account. My pinned tweet is still an article from The Atlantic that says why inflation is actually your fault. It's like people buying luxury goods and all this was causing inflation, and it was insanity. So yeah, I'm not trying to gloss over your point about how hypocritical Democrats are when it comes to inflation and addressing the cost of living. Because like we were talking about a minute ago, Democrats have no clue how to actually address the cost of living for anything. They think every answer is throw more government at it. And as we both know, it's ridiculous on its face. But Donald Trump's like, yeah, homes are really unaffordable. I know what'll fix everything. A 50-year mortgage. I can't with this guy sometimes, man. Like,
I
dude,
can't with. Ugh.
he was trying to, they're like, dude, they were so proud of that. And I'm not even saying like it's the worst idea I've ever heard. And if a bank wants to offer a 50-year mortgage, sure. But that's not yeah, that's not going to solve the lack of inventory. That's not going to solve the incredibly high interest rate. That just means that you'll be paying the bank instead of paying the bank like, twice what your house is worth, you'll be paying the bank almost 3 times what your house is worth in the end. I mean, it's a disgusting political tactic. And then also they were floating out some like Trump, I don't know if it was Trump, but I saw it going around, was the 15-year auto loan mortgage. Yeah, we're getting a $2,000 check. China is paying for it. That's what someone said in the comments there.
Yeah, listen, bro. So yeah, listen, the whole $2,000 check, the whole 50-year mortgage. No, again, no one except the people who are being attacked like mad, like the Rand Pauls, Thomas Massey's, even Marjorie Taylor Greene. Everyone's coming out to beat the crap out of them, right? They're the only 3. They're like, what are we doing? Here's another one. Iowa farm troubles continue with a 24% decline in income projected for 2026. Because of what? Because what? It's all the Republicans' fault? Is that what we're doing? Is that what that's what you're going to say, right? It's all the Republicans' fault. Democrats love any type of regulatory action that they can pass, right? And they never saw a tax they wanted to pass up. So please, 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 Democrats, don't come at us with the, oh my God, these Iowa farmers are in trouble. Because of who? It drives me absolutely freaking insane when these people, and I don't know what drives me more insane, Brandon, that Democrats or Republicans will say something like this, or that the amount of people that believe it and don't put any thought into it. I think that's the more irritating thing, right? Is that people just go, yep, the freaking Republicans are doing this, and now there's going to be a 24% decline in their income. Okay, what policies has the government enacted, or what have they done to maybe cause this? Do you ever ask yourself that? No. And what are you going to do? You're going to come in and probably try to subsidize it more, which will drive the cost of the groceries up on the consumer even more. And then you're going to sit there and pound your chest like you did something good. And you're just devaluing the currency some more. But congratulations. You win the Moron of the Month club. And then we'll give you a pin, and we'll give you a medal, and then we'll give you a chest to pin it on.
John, read the description underneath the picture real quick.
Iowa's corn and soybean farmers are facing a 3rd straight year of decline, and it's taking a toll across the state. The downturn is now hitting ag-related manufacturing too, leading to thousands of layoffs and ripple effects in communities statewide.
Do you understand why that's so funny though? Who was president whenever the first year of decline happened?
True.
What? That was Joe Biden. They're even saying like, oh, this is the 3rd straight year. Yeah. Who was the first year? Who was president on your first year? Yeah, oh, yeah. Dude. Joe Biden. What are you talking about? Like, it's funny. That was a Jess Piper repost, right?
Yeah, that of course it was, because
did she say anything or just repost it?
She just reposted.
Right. So her point was that look how bad Republicans are. 24% decline. But Joe Biden started the decline. What are you talking about?
Like this right here, right?
Can't with these people.
Being able to feed your family is not a left-wing position. Well, gee, thanks for making that. I would have never, ever figured that out if you had not posted that. I would have thought that, I don't know what I would have thought, but I'm just glad that that's not a left-wing position. I'm so happy that she clarified that for me, and that I know that feeding my family is just feeding my family, and it's not a Democrat
Okay.
position. Because let me tell you something: if it was a Democrat position, we'd all be starving because they tax the crap out of everything, and then you wouldn't be able to afford groceries anyway. So I'm glad it's not a left wing position anyway.
Well, not to mention that if like I'm not even trying to be hateful here when I say this, but if you are relying on the government, like if you're able-bodied and like don't have a bunch of like extenuating circumstances where all of your free time is just completely tied up with very important social and family obligations, then maybe you should be working where you don't need a government handout to feed your family. Yeah, I like again, if you got laid off and you had extenuating circumstances, like I'm not saying no one's ever needed help.
Right.
I'm saying that if you're continually relying on the government to feed your family while you're able-bodied and just choosing that kind of lifestyle, then that's kind of like that's almost I'm trying to think of the right word because I don't want to be like mean, but that's
Oh,
kind of
be mean.
it's kind of pathetic to like I've got like could you imagine as a man being like I've got hungry kids, can't wait for that if that government check doesn't come, I know I could go out and get more, I could work more hours. I know I could make sure that my family has food. I'm not trying to diminish people who have like tried to do their best and have fallen on hard times. But that situation to me is a lot less common. It's like a lot more rare to find someone on hard times versus someone relying on these government checks. And if you've got small kids or if you've got a family and you're relying on that to feed your family, you might want to think about working some more hours or figuring out some sort of secondary income opportunity.
Yeah, and again, not this goes for people who have this cult like following, um, in either party. Do you think the audacity to think or the naivete to think that everyone's just greedy besides politicians, right? And that's here's a big problem, right? Is that all the subsidies, the price fixing, those have become mainstream ideas. And so when you present an idea that seems very radical, that's actually common sense and not radical, people lose their minds. They can't cope with the thought that, oh my God, because what we have now is crony capitalism, right? We don't have true free market capitalism. We have crony capitalism, and it has made it too easy for these politicians to say whatever crap they want to say and point at greedy billionaires or greedy business owners or whatever, instead of pointing the fingers back at themselves, right? What's that saying? When you point a finger at someone, you've got three pointing back at yourself. I mean, it's just, I hate the fact that freedom and liberty principles are considered radical ideas. To me, a radical idea is putting all your faith in a human being whose whole career is based on lying to you and then thinking those people are going to fix your problems when they can't even tell you the truth. That's the radical idea. Being able to make your own choices and not have some big, fat, greasy palm stuck in the middle of every interaction you make. That should be radical. But they treat you like you're like, hey, maybe we could just discontinue this and give people more control. And they're like, oh my God, are you out of your mind? It's like, well, clearly it's not working now. Do you want to just stick with the same people who have screwed the pooch the whole time? I just would rather not see liberty and freedom treated so radically. Like we're all wearing tinfoil hats and what have you.
So it goes back to kind of like what you were saying a minute ago, whenever about whenever you have the SNAP benefits, both sides just arguing about like the Republicans are blaming the Democrats because they're not going out and Democrats are blaming Republicans, but no one's talking about how we probably could look at the system itself. You know, where no one's looking at like, maybe if you're hungry, we could use the voluntary system. And it kind of is, it just goes to show you how far liberty minded people are to the edge of the Overton window, even still. Like, even as guys like Tucker and Dave Smith and Scott Horton, even as these people are picking up traction, and not just their anti-war ideas, but their economic, their free market capitalist, Austrian economics are starting to catch some ground among my example, I guess, would be Anna Kasparian. She was on the Young Turks with Cenk Uygur, and she's for years and years has been a big leftist on social issues and thinking the government needs to be involved in all these things. And when she had Scott Horton on, he was, obviously they were talking about foreign policy and different, Israel and all this other stuff. But then he mentioned laissez-faire, free market economics. And she was like, I'm actually starting to come around and become a fan. So even as you see, the internet starts to move, and hopefully that's a kind of like a bellwether for how more people on the ground think. But it is sad to kind of see how far away from mainstream true liberty really is.
Yeah, I just it is good to it's good to hear people who have kind of been, generally left leaning, like shaken enough to where they start I guess I should say this. It's good to see that even some left leaning, and this goes for either side, but people on the left are a lot of times much more hard. It's much harder to get them to pull away, right? Now, you got some MAGA people that are the same way, but people on the left are generally, a lot of times, are harder to pull away from that, what's ever embedded in their skulls. But there are people on the left who will have open dialogue with people who maybe are libertarian or more conservative, and will start to they'll start putting A and B together, right? And they're like, oh, okay, now it's starting to make sense to me. And it rattles their core a little bit. It shakes their core to where they're like, okay, maybe I need to rethink this. And if as a person, if you talk to someone who is politically not aligned with you generally on most things, but if you can bring facts forth and it shakes their core a little bit, shakes their belief system a little bit, enough to where they'll at least entertain the thought of looking at things and saying, I need to rethink this. To me, that's awesome, right? Even if they may not come out on your side, but if they take the time to debate it and research it and do a deeper dive and maybe come out with a better understanding, that's the best. That's all you can do, right? Is try to shake their core beliefs enough, present facts well enough. And I'm not real good at that, right? I'm good at making fun of people, and I can point out the obvious. I'm not the best deep thinker, right? I have had several conversations with people, though, when I bring a point forward, and they'll be like, oh, and you're like, yes. Now, I don't do it to belittle them, and I don't do it to be demeaning. I just want them to kind of pull out of their bubble a little bit and look at the outside world and do a little, self-reflection, a little reading, a little viewing, something, and actually take an opposing point of view and put some thought behind it. And if you can do that, that's the first step in gaining ground. But if you can't get people shaken from their core beliefs, and you're never going to get everyone, of course, that's impossible. But that's the first step in, getting some of the bigger voices out there to even if they just speak a little bit on it, and they say how they're starting to have doubts. That's huge. That's bigger than anything I could probably do, right? So that's huge. We will get into this topic that Tom has brought up. It's so
I
ridiculous that this is going on. But go ahead, Brandon.
I want to give David's comment a shout out there too, because he says, give the government the ability to manufacture T-shirts, and in 30 years, people would go crazy over the idea that government shouldn't be making them, and ask how it can ever be done.
You
I
know,
think that's a funny point.
it is a funny point, but I have literally heard people say, and saw them type it out in a comment, that most of the products that we have, most of the things we have, it's because government has said that these are a necessity or these are things that should be produced. They think like clothing and shelter and all this other stuff somehow through the ages has been a mandate from a king, a tyrant, or something. Like, you don't think anybody thinks of this stuff on their own? You think all this stuff is a government idea? How dumb can you be? But they literally think that. That I was like,
Yeah.
wow, you are on a whole nother plane of existence.
They're the my roads people. Oh, you need, but what
Right.
about my roads?
The old classic libertarian meme.
So
"My
I
roads!"
want to get a little Tom Martzi on us here, and just kind of nitpick my frustration with the language of the term crony capitalism, because like, people love to define governments and systems and all different types of things as like socialism and capitalism, and like America is capitalism and Russia was socialist, they're socialist, blah blah blah. It's such a varied scale. And I like whenever people try to like claim, oh, America is capitalist, like we have, like, there are certain, it's like, again, it's a scale. Like, there are certain industries that have very little regulation, and things tend to get better and cheaper over time. And there are things with more regulation where things get more expensive. And obviously inflation is a part to that. But, you know, when the government's adding the subsidies and tipping the scales, they're the ones, you know, certain industries like they were just showing with the corn and soybean. I guarantee the federal government and the state of Iowa are both subsidizing the hell out of the soybean and corn industry there. I guarantee you those farmers aren't feeling that 24% loss year over year. And so, yeah, the idea that like America, like the socialists of America love to be like, they take all of the least free market parts of America, complain about them, and cry for more government. When in reality, when you look at all of the industries that have the least amount of government interference, those, like, you know, I bring this up a lot, but if you look at like TVs, you know, a lot of like your basic house appliances, those get better and cheaper over time. And so the fact that more industries can't work like that is because of the government. And so when everybody's talking about, you know what I mean? I just hate the language that people use when they try to define America's economy as a whole. It's such a, you know, poor way of trying to like encapsulate the whole of America's economy.
Yeah, it's just the fact that there are people who will talk about the billionaires, right? And then some people talk about just the government, and it's like, now wait a minute. Yes, a lot of the big corporations do profit from regulation, because just like the ACA, the insurance companies got to come in and they got to write all the legislation. They got a word. They got to come in there and help write it. And what did it do? It eliminated their competition, right? It was in their best interest. It was in their fiscal interest to be the few left standing. Now, here's the thing, right? Because government has become this behemoth of regulation, I guess if your company's big enough, you want to get in there and make sure you don't get regulated out of business, right? But the thing is, some of these companies are helping to make it where they're like, well, I don't have to worry about competition because these people won't ever be able to afford to get where I'm getting at. And it just sucks that, yeah, we call it socialism, we call it fascism, But people, but if you're just looking at one side or the other side, right? Here in Missouri, we got, you know, recreational marijuana, but who helped write that god awful Amendment 3, right? That was all outside interests. That was crony capitalism. Now we can point because we have legislators who are like, we need to do more. And I'm sure that it's behest of lobbyist money. But sometimes we only point the finger at a politician, or sometimes we only point it at a business or a certain type of business, but we don't talk about the two hand in hand. And I just hate that they're like, capitalism sucks, it doesn't work. It's like, we don't live in a capitalist society. And people want to make and that's the other, people want to make sure everyone's, you know, make it sound like everyone's poor and they're all struggling. Yes, people are struggling, but they only want to point at greedy politicians, or they want to blame it on the Republicans, or they want to blame it on this. It's like, guys, it's them hand in hand. It's a whole lot of people hand in hand who have come together to screw you over so that they maintain power and get a bunch of money, right? It's not this crap doesn't fall out of the sky. And this isn't the work of one individual. That's the other thing that drives me nuts. Like, look at that guy. Look what he did. And it's like, you think he did that by himself? You think any one congressman can come in and just do this all by themselves with the wave of a magic wand? You're out of your freaking mind. This is a conglomeration of a lot of greedy individuals. But just to point it in one area is really stupid.
Yeah, I would almost like, instead of calling it crony capitalism, because it gives people this, like you said, it gives people the idea that we have a capitalist society that's been like corrupted by like government and corporations, but it's more of like a corporatist puppet economy. Like, and again, it's not even necessarily every industry, but like a lot of industries, anything that's getting heavily subsidized, anything where the government is picking the winners and losers, that's corporatist puppet economy, where the corporations play puppet on the government. And so again, I just think that's a better phrasing than crony capitalism, because it gives
public-private partnerships is another good
public-private again, like economics, because the socialists can tie that crony capitalism. They're like, well, see, you call it crony capitalism because capitalism doesn't work. It's like, I'm pretty sure the definition of capitalism is just the whole conglomerate of a free market economy. And a free market economy is just the whole of the sum of all of two or more partners coming to any sort of contractual agreement. And so anything outside of two private partners outside of the government, progressive corporatists. Anything outside of two private individuals coming together and forming their own contractual agreements, that is cronyism. That is puppet corporatist, progressive corporatist.
Yeah, and if I'm not mistaken, too, I think there was a law that was passed that corporations could basically run for a seat of power in a roundabout way.
Well, it was the big one I can think of. I can't remember the name of the lawsuit off the top of my head, but it basically is that corporations qualify as people in free speech regards, and campaign donations are considered free speech. So whenever you, like, for a few years, leftists were screaming that they said corporations are people. Corporations aren't people. Corporations are made of people, but the big thing they were saying is that campaign donations by corporations should be like checked differently than regular donations and this and that, which at the heart of my libertarian beliefs, again, I'm not concerned with a politician being greedy and taking donation money, but it's on the American people, because that information is public. It's on you, the American voter, to go, oh, that guy takes a ton of corporate money, I probably shouldn't vote for him. We don't see that very often, but that's the proper, like, if a society's functioning well, that's how it should go. Coming in and telling the corporations they can't donate to a campaign, I mean,
well, and you know, it's funny because the Democrats are complaining about it, but the last several presidential elections, Republican and Democrat candidates, how much money are they getting from the big banks, right? So the very same people complaining are taking huge campaign donations from all the big banks, right? So shut up, please. Again,
Yeah.
as Brandon stated, it's public record. You can see. Now, I don't disagree. It's been a meme. It's been a suggestion. I think that if you're getting 20% of your campaign is funded by Pfizer, I think you should have like a NASCAR jacket and all your sponsors are there. So it's right there. You don't even have to go on a specific website. You see that idiot on TV on the floor of the Senate or House, and he's trying to say that we should give $8 billion to vaccine makers to make this thing. You ought to see Pfizer and Moderna patches right there on their suit coat. And you're like, oh, well, gee, I wonder why they're saying that. Oh, that's weird. They got several hundred thousands or millions of dollars in a campaign fund from those very specific companies. That's where, we're going to try to regulate small banks out of existence. Oh, look at that. Like, they're funded. They got a bunch of donations from Chase or Manhattan Bank or something. That's really weird. I wonder why they're writing this legislation now. I think that would be pretty cool. It's some kind of like ritual. It's like when the golfers win certain like major events and they get their green jacket, like they won a PGA major title. maybe once you start getting so much donations from like industries that you're also actively trying to write and help out by like siphoning money to them, you should also get, it wouldn't be a gold jacket or a green jacket. It has to be like doo-doo brown, right? Because it's just crappy. It's just crappy, but it's got the logos of all the companies they actively work for rather than the people that they're supposed to represent. So there is that. Let's get in. Let me, Tom. Oh, shut up. I will get to you, Randy, fat bastard. Fine. But let me see if I can find let's see, Rand Paul and hemp. That should bring up something video rather quickly. Okay, let me pull up this video. Let me full screen that. Let's play this because Tom brought this up, and this is a topic that we've covered on this show a lot, hemp and cannabis. But let me pull this window up. I will share the audio since I have a really bad tendency to not share the audio, and then you guys hear it, but my guess is like I don't hear nothing, bro. Let me play this from Senator Rand Paul. Let me rewind to the beginning here.
Instead of a clean CR, this bill contains language that has been airdropped in that will destroy hemp farming in Kentucky and across the United States. Tucked away on page 163, Title VII, Division B of this spending package is a provision that will shut down the hemp industry across the United States. My amendment would strip the provision designed to regulate the hemp industry to death. The bill, as it now stands, overrides the regulatory frameworks of several states, cancels the collective decisions of hemp consumers, and destroys the livelihoods of hemp farmers. And it couldn't come at a worse time for America's farmers. Times are tough for our farmers. Farmers' costs have increased as the price of fertilizer and machinery have jumped, while prices for their crops like soybean, corn, and wheat have declined. For many farmers, hemp has proved to be a lifeline, a new cash crop. Farmers turn to growing hemp to mitigate the losses they've endured during this season of hardship. But that lifeline may soon be extinguished by this very legislation. The effective hemp ban included in this spending package is a result, we are told, of bad actors skirting the legal limits by overly enhancing the concentration of THC in their products. The hemp industry, myself and others, have come together and we have been willing to negotiate to get rid of the bad actors. And yet, instead, we are met with legislation that would be prohibition. Members of the industry, myself and others who are advocates of this, have been willing to get rid of synthetic cannabinoids. We have been willing to compromise at every turn, but we're met with the numbers in this bill which will eradicate the hemp industry. For the last several weeks, we've offered proposals with the goal of creating an environment in which the hemp industry could thrive and sell products. And we've been met with those who want to prohibit the industry from continuing. This bill's per serving THC content limit would make illegal any hemp product that contains more than 0.4 milligrams. That would be nearly 100% of the existing market. The numbers put forward in this bill will eliminate 100% of the hemp products in our country. That amounts to an effective ban because the limit is so low that the products intended to manage pain or anxiety will lose their effect. The states have done what they're supposed to. The states have instituted laws. 23 states have instituted laws on hemp. None of them have limits anywhere close to what is being proposed in this bill. So what will happen is most of the things that your states have regulated, are regulating, and have made legal will be made illegal by this bill. This bill will effectively preempt and nullify all state laws concerning hemp. Currently, Maine limits THC to 3 milligrams per serving. That will be overruled. My home state limits THC to 5 milligrams in beverages. That will be overruled. Minnesota, Utah, Louisiana also have 5 milligrams per serving. Alabama and Georgia have 10 milligrams. Tennessee has 15 milligrams. The bill before us nullifies all these state laws and makes the hemp industry kaput. The language in this bill will outlaw all current hemp plants and seeds. It changes the definition of what a hemp plant is. It makes it so low that there may not even be an existing plant that can meet the parameters. But every plant in the country will have to be destroyed. Every hemp seed in the country will have to be destroyed. This is the most thoughtless, ignorant proposal to an industry that I've seen in a long, long time. The states have made progress, and more progress was coming. Most states have age limits. To add insult to injury, we are given this legislation in an appropriation bills. We have Senate rules against this. So I would recommend that we vote for this amendment, and my amendment would strip out the language, and I would like to transfer the remainder of my time to Senator Merkley.
Well, there you have it from Senator Rand Paul. So if you like any hemp thing, could be hemp flour, could be CBD oil, could be anything, could be a hemp beverage. Okay, you need to, sorry. You guys can't hear, but it's right in I'm getting blasted in here. But go ahead, Brandon.
Oh,
Stupid.
it's not even about whether or not you like hemp or not. It's about what's even more crazy. It's not that like a bunch of level-headed people had some solid disagreements and they're like, no, let's talk about this nuance. I'm not a big believer in the hemp industry like that. If we've got different, no, the conversation was Rand Paul and Rand Paul alone is keeping the government shut down. Like the reason your family's hungry and can't get medication because they're sick, that's all Rand Paul's fault. I mean, all of the maggots, all of the big MAGA supporters, they all had to say, oh, Rand Paul, Rand Paul. I mean, give me a break. Watch 4 minutes. Spend 4 minutes of your time watching him give that speech and act like it's not unreasonable. You know what I mean? Whether or not you agree with it or not, what he's saying is reasonable enough to have a debate on the floor about whether or not it needs to go into the Senate bill. The government's been shut down for 41 days, and you're acting like because he wants to have a conversation about a extremely damaging section of that bill for like, and again, it's not even about whether or not you like weed. It is about whether or not you think the people who farm it and the people who smoke it, their entire industries, all the people who sell it, all the people who deliver it, everyone who's a part of the industry who makes money on it. You're saying that you're willing to completely cut out their entire way of life because you don't like the way it smells sometimes when you walk by it, or whatever your stupid reasoning is on it. I mean, it's out. The MAGA crowd is out of control with this. Like, I don't even know what to call it, because you've got people like Matt Walsh and Sanger and Jetty. They every chance, like once a week, they're posting about how much they hate marijuana's legalization and how we should go back to prohibition on it and everything. And I'm just, first of all, how behind the times can you be? And secondly, like, you're supposed to be the limited government, free market, live and let live. That was the new age conservatism, is this, we're not the neocons. We're not the, we're a new brand of individual liberty thinkers. That's not the case. That's not what you have. And this MAGA cult, if they don't find a way to break away from some of the terrible decisions that Trump's doing, you're going to see more results like you did, like the 2026 midterms. Like, this is not going to, no Republican outside of like the extreme MAGA people feel fired up about anything right now. And this is not helping their case at all. Going after the most principled people, like the most principled man in the House, Thomas Massey, and the most principled man in the Senate, Rand Paul. Like, you're alienating so many people like you. Like, you would be willing to vote conservative if conservatives had any inkling of showing that they were going to be faithful to, American values or the Constitution. But they have diminished all of that hope among people who are independent or libertarian who would be willing to vote for a conservative on the right values. But they're destroying that base.
For those of you who don't know, prohibition has never worked, ever. It didn't work during alcohol prohibition. It doesn't work at any other prohibition. People find, you know what you do? You drive people to the black market. That's what you do. When they do things like this, they drive people to the black market. That's when you're going to find the really nasty products, right? Is in the black market, where people don't care. They're just trying to make a buck. So that's where you're going to find the most damaging products at. And then they'll have the audacity to go, oh my God, did you see? There's been an epidemic. Yes, because you decided to rid of us of every option we had on the table that we could just go to the store and buy. You thought was a horrible idea. You got rid of it all. You drove people to the black market. What did you think was going to happen? Right? You're not thinking. You know exactly what you're doing. And also to the Jess Piper, I want to see on your Facebook page this post, and the Democrats of Iowa, I want to see a post about you being against this, because this could help out the farmers, right? If you just deregulate it more and give them more opportunity, this could be a cash crop. If we would open up the marketplace to even more hemp goods, they wouldn't have to grow corn or soybeans. And I guarantee it's because Rand Paul's saying it. Generally, most of these nincompoops are not going to agree with him. They won't post it, because then some of them will be accused of getting in line with Rand Paul, the guy that didn't want to open the government back up. That's how small-minded people get. Even when somebody like him is saying something that generally could maybe save some farmers, right? We're not going to say anything. We're not going to mention it, because it's Rand Paul. That's how unprincipled these people are. And how just mindless freaking drones. I don't know why any of you listen to these people. I don't know why you're listening to the maggot. Yes, maggot part. I believe there are some Make America Great people, or Make America Great Again people, that are more America first and not so much Trump cultists. But the seemingly large population of the maggot cult, and yes, I'm saying maggot because maggots feed on decaying and dying things. And if you keep following this road that Trump and the Republicans are going down, then freedom and liberty rot. And then you all feed on that, seemingly getting fat and happy, which I don't know how that's possible. So I believe you have MAGA people that are America first, and then the people who just blindly follow along with whatever Trump and a lot of these Republicans and these other idiots, these paid influencers on X and wherever else. You're maggots. You're feeding on the rotting remains of what should be a great country, and you're trashing it and you're jumping for joy while doing it because your cult leader says it's good. That doesn't make you a good person. It doesn't make you principled. It doesn't make you virtuous. It doesn't make you moral. It makes you repugnant to those of us who just want to live our lives pretty much just untouched and just be left alone. So please don't come back at us later when, like, if a Democrat gets elected next and he just continues on these policies, but he flips them against you. Please don't come crying to us, because we've been warning you that once you open the door for something like this, they will continue it on. It's just a perpetuation of policies already enacted, and they'll just use it to grow their power, their base of power, and take more things away from you. So figure that out and do something and speak out, or go in your little echo chambers and do your self-congratulatory BS. And then please don't, hope you don't break your own neck trying to pat yourself on the back, because good God, you people you're disgusting.
So, you know what I want to bring up really quick? Brief transition into some Randy Fine stuff here.
Yeah, I got a video all ready to go. Just you
okay,
say what you need to say.
What drives me crazy is that if you were to talk to if you were to ask any of the right-wing Ben Shapiro type media people, even a year ago, what they thought of CNN or CBS or all, the MSNBC, Jake Tapper, all those guys, especially after Jake Tapper released his book where he was like, we didn't know Biden didn't have a brain. And so now, because of the media's love of the Israeli government and, their lack of pressure on someone committing a genocide and their American counterparts that are encouraging it and facilitating it, because of the mainstream media's willingness to turn a blind eye to that, you've got Ben Shapiro did a big, long sit down with Jake Tapper to talk about how bad Tucker Carlson is for having sat down with Nick Fuentes. And then you had Dave Portnoy. So some guy walks by Dave Portnoy over the weekend, throws change at him, and he said F the Jews, which again, I'm not going to support that kind of rhetoric. But then that kid, I'm pretty sure, got arrested and kicked out of jail. Again, he didn't hit Dave with the change, just threw it on the ground. And they charged this kid with disturbing the peace. And so Dave Portnoy goes on CBS, and I think it was 60 Minutes, and does some everyone's after me now, and I've never seen this level of hate. And they're going on with all of the people who a year ago, they would have been like, they're complete clowns. Everything they talk about's a joke. You can't listen to them. This is why they're failing. And now they're crawling to those mainstream media sources to go, everyone feels sorry for me and my cause. We're so, and it's just it's disgusting the way they're willing they're willing to compromise back to the mainstream media that shunned them for having normal opinions like, oh, maybe I'd like to do my own research on this vaccine, or maybe I don't necessarily think men should be competing with women in sports, right? The mainstream media will blast people for those opinions. But whenever you want to talk good about Israel, and when you want to talk about how bad Tucker Carlson is and how bigoted America is, then they'll go crawling right back to the mainstream media to go make their points. And I don't know, Randy Fine, I didn't watch the clip, but he's on CNN with some lady, and he's just going on and on about how, Tucker used to be a guy we could look up to, and I don't know what happened to Tucker. And it just so happens to be all of the people with all of these, going on the mainstream media saying all this stuff, they just so happen to be the most ardent defenders of the Likud party in Israel, absolutely decimating the civilian population in Gaza. No, weird correlation, right? Just so happens to be all of the same people who are cheering on what what Netanyahu's doing are the people crawling to the mainstream media to talk about how attacked they are in America. get over yourself and at least show some principle. I don't know.
This clip is not him talking to. He's talking to somebody else. I don't know CNN personalities enough to know who this douche canoe is, but I will share this and then we will view this stupidity. Randy Fine, who's a damn fine liar. Let's listen to what Super Stupid here has to say. This is a pretty short clip.
Short time we have, I would say this. I did say we should kill all Hamas terrorists, and I stand by that. And what I laughed at was a fake picture that was sent to me where people tried to claim that Israel was killing babies, but what they sent me was a 10-year-old photograph of a baby being killed in Syria by Muslims. The point was, if this was real, you wouldn't have to generate fake pictures. But what I would say is, even if all of the things that he claims I did were true, to say that is worse than someone who said the Holocaust didn't happen, that women should be raped, that makes the most horrific thing, says the most horrific things about black people. When you will equate that and you'll say that's not that bad, we've got a real problem. I've said Tucker Carlson is the most dangerous anti-Semite in America, and I stand by that.
What a hold on, let me
No, Mr. Randy Fine. If everything that they were saying about you was true, which is true, because I guarantee he didn't know that baby was fake when he laughed at it, and even, or if it even is fake or isn't fake. But there's no, again, the point is he laughed at dead babies, even when he thought they were Palestinian at the time, and was cheering it on. If you don't believe me, go look through his X thread at the time, starting from October 7th onward. It's nothing, and I mean nothing, but more blood in the streets. There are no innocent Palestinians. That's things that Randy Fine has said. And whenever a country is actively committing a genocide and you're saying those people deserve it, that there is nothing worse. No matter what Nick Fuentes is going to say, it is, if anything, an equivalent to what you said, because it does not get any worse than that.
Yeah, I want to play one other thing, because I'm going to say this, and when I say this, I don't mean it to sound like I agree with every single thing they say. But people like Tucker Carlson and Candace Owens and even Megyn Kelly and some of these people need to be protected, right? Because they at least will challenge the status quo, which a lot of other people will not. The more mainstream people, nope, they want to go along. They want to get along. They don't want threats. They don't want to be deplatformed, whatever. They will say whatever they have to say to stay in the good graces of whoever it is that's running the show, right? So we've got to protect the Tucker Carlsons, the Candace Owens, the Megyn Kellys of the world. And even if we don't agree with everything they say, at least it looks like they're trying to be principled. At least it looks like they're trying to get to the bottom of things, or they're more open to a dialogue, and they don't want to just slander everyone and call them names and ask that. And they don't want to be like Mark Levin and Ben Shapiro and try to pressure everyone off the stage and out of the world of media in totality because they don't like the things that they're saying. So let me pull this one up real quick. And let me, oh man, come on, John, get it together, you dummy. Make sure. Share the audio, John. Come on. I'll get it together one of these days, folks. I promise. Let me get come on, volume. Here we go.
He said that Candace has been claiming Erica Kirk was behind the murder of Charlie, which I had not heard, and I was taken aback because that seems like something I would have heard. It's so crazy. And I have since learned it is not true. Candace has not made that claim. And in fact, I've now seen several clips of Candace specifically defending Erica Kirk and saying she would never make a claim like that about Erica, and that she is open-minded to other people at Turning Point. That's obvious. She's been making that point. I had heard that point, but she's specifically been defending Erica Kirk, and she's been saying she does not think that of Erica. And in fact, if you read her comments, she's under pressure to make comments about Erica. And so far, what I've seen, she hasn't. So thank you for that question.
So yeah, all this stuff out there on the internet, and people, if you haven't figured out by now that they just want to destroy anybody who questions the mainstream narrative. And it's not working well for them, right? The Shapiros and the Levins of the world are getting left behind, and the Tucker Carlsons and the Candace Owens are getting more and more views all the time. People like Dave Smith and others are getting more views, and they're getting more listeners, and they're waking people up. So we've got to protect these people. Again, you don't have to agree with everything they say, but good God, can we at least give them a little grace? Because again, they do seem to want to question the normal things that get spouted out by CNN and Fox News and the MSNBCs or the MS Now, whatever it is they want to be called. We've got to protect these people, and we've got to support them when they're doing really great things, right? And Fox News and the rest of them, dude, that breed of journalism can't die off soon enough. I'm sick and tired of hearing these people talk. I'm sick and tired of just regurgitating the same thing day in and day out. They have to be losing viewers. But you see the power of the Tuckers and the Candaces and some of these other people who have been fired from whatever platform they were originally on, and they're doing better than they were. Right? They're doing better now than what they were doing on these so-called journalistic platforms like the Daily Wire or Fox News. They're doing better. They're getting more views, they're generating more interest, and they're creating an open dialogue about things. Just, God dang, people can't leave it alone. And what a bunch of wimps and what a bunch of crybabies. To instead of you saying, "Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I should take a bigger, a deeper look at this. Maybe I've been wrong." No, they will not say they're wrong. They will go out and they will call everyone an anti-Semite or a Putin sympathizer or whatever. I saw that today on X. Someone trying to saying Scott Horton's just, he's just working for the KGB or whatever. And they can't, that's their lifeline. And they don't dare cut it because there's enough dumb people to swallow that hogwash. They can't dare cut their lifeline. So now they're stuck holding on to this thread of insanity and hoping enough people will buy it and give them money so they can continue having some kind of career. And I hope to see one day that somebody just comes in with a big pair of scissors and goes clip and cuts that last strand of stupidity. Now, I don't want that to come through government intervention. I want that to come through the free market of ideas where people go, dude, we don't believe you, and we're all backing off. We're all getting off this train because it's not a logic train, right? So we're all getting off the train, and we're going to go get on a different train. Somewhere that seems to take us somewhere, someplace a little more moral, a little more principled, and just a little more liberty-minded. We're gonna. I don't want to take the train to Stupidville anymore. I want to get off this one. So that's what let's say Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin, and Randy Fine, and creating the backlash we need. Don't stop the enemy when he's destroying himself. I mean, yeah, you can just, like I said, I don't want anybody on the liberty side of things to go, we need to do something and just get these people make some kind of law. Don't do that. I agree. Let them destroy themselves. Just watch the people back away and go, Israel never does anything wrong, and because the Bible tells me I have to support the Israeli government, dude, I got to stop doing this. This is stupid, and I got to stop pandering to this. That's what I want to see. Just people opening up their minds a little bit and backing away from the stupidity. And then we get rid of those people that way. But Levin and Shapiro and others, they want it done a different way. And sometimes it sounds like there's implications of violence or threats of, using some kind of coercion that's not market-based to get rid of voices they don't like. And that's the kind of protection that I'm talking about when we were talking about some of these other personalities.
The dumbest strategy I've ever heard. Like, it works. So, like, the reason, I mean, I mean, not the reason. There's no reasoning or excuses for some of the things that Nick Fuentes has said.
Right.
But Ben Shapiro, like, he used to have a Nick Fuentes when he was like 19 years old, had like a connection with the Daily Wire, like had friends who worked there, and he used to do like um like a local radio show. And he started having questions about the Israeli lobby. And for that question, Ben Shapiro basically had him canceled and used all of his up and coming, right wing power to basically get Nick Fuentes off the map for questioning Israel. Now, after that, Nick Fuentes went on to say he did go on to say on some pretty disgusting things about, black people and I mean, in general, really. But trying to cancel, and so it works whenever a guy like that doesn't have an audience and is relying on a bigger power for fame. But whenever you're trying to cancel Tucker Carlson, that's not going to work on its face. He's got more fans than all of the people like Ben Shapiro, Mark Levin. You combine those audiences, they're not even close to Tucker Carlson. They're probably doing Candace Owens numbers together on their shows. And so the whole strategy of like, if we just neutralize Tucker Carlson, it's like, that's what Fox News tried. Ask them how that's working for them.
Yeah. It's funny to see them play the same tricks and use the same stupidity that, the mainstream media folks have, like Tapper, and who's that other big dumb that used to be on CNN, that fat fruit,
Brian Stelter.
Yeah, Brian Stelter, like blaming Joe Rogan for everything. It's like, dude, you better figure it out then, bro. You better figure it out or you're going to be left behind. And he couldn't do it. He couldn't change his ways.
Yeah. So I wanted to bring this up because this kind of encapsulates the whole thing here. It's Thomas Massey posting, Israeli citizen Miriam Adelson bought the Dallas Mavericks for $3.5 billion. Now she's buying politicians. She's spending millions in Kentucky to buy Ed Galrain, my primary opponent, a congressional seat in Kentucky. Why? Because I won't vote to send your tax money overseas. So this is what MAGA has been replying to Thomas Massey with nonstop, basically. Another ignorant Jew-hating a-hole that thinks all Jewish people are Israel citizens. Now, here's the thing. Miriam Adelson is a dual citizen. She actually has citizenship in Israel and the United States. And so Dave Allen, he posted, he never said that all Jewish people are Israeli citizens. In this case, she's both an American and Israeli citizen. Also making the claim he's a Jew hater is ridiculous. Guess, though, by your logic, Trump's a raging Jew hater. This is him saying her husband who passed controlled people. Stop acting like a woke leftist. So this is a real post from Trump back in 2015. Sheldon Adelson is looking to give big dollars to Rubio because he feels he can mold him into his perfect little puppet. I agree. So Trump at one point knew the game. This was so a decade ago, 10 years ago, Trump knew, a big donation from the Adelsons means you can mold somebody into the way you want. Fast forward to 2024. Guess who took $100 million from the Adelsons? Donald Trump. Guess who just happens to be in support of all of their, their ceasefire, their broken ceasefire in Lebanon, their broken ceasefire in Gaza. Despite what Trump says in front of a camera, they're still annexing the West Bank. They're still bombing Syria. They're still, as far as I know, there's still a conflict in Yemen, although I haven't heard much about it in a while. So yeah, starting to think maybe the Adelson money can turn you into a puppet. And just the irony of Trump 10 years ago being like, yeah, the Adelson money, that's no good for politics. And now he's encouraging the $20 million that Miriam Adelson's dropping on Thomas Massey.
Oops.
Which, again, at a certain point, if you're a true conservative, you can't be in this MAGA club that much longer. I mean, there's no more liberty juice left to squeeze. He's taking all of the life out of it.
Yeah, it's I I can't even. I can't even. I just I don't know how you can sit here, look at all the evidence in front of you, and not say that our government has heavy influence from other nations. And it's not just Israel, right? Israel being seemingly the largest donor to our senators and House reps. I don't know how you can look at these things and go, "Oh yeah, this seems like it's on the up and up. This seems like it's above board, and this is normal behavior." Right now, I will say, right, that our government has done it in many other nations, right? We've overthrown dictators to replace them with dictators who are just as bad or worse. We have influenced elections time and time again. And so I guess since our government has done it for so long, they're like, you know, why give up a good thing? Look at all the money that we can make from outside influence, and look how we can enlarge our wealth as human beings just by taking this dirty blood money. So, I mean, we do it to other countries. Why shouldn't we enrich ourselves with, people who clearly don't have America's best interests at heart? People who clearly have another nation's best interests at heart. And I think that should be an automatic disqualifier for people who have who do this. I think you should just be kicked out of office immediately. Just someone walks in, gives you a big cardboard box and says, "Pack your crap and get out." I have seen that people say that if you have it, they're wanting to create a law that says if you have dual citizenship, you can't run for office in DC. Now, some people are like, "Well, you can't do that." I think that's a very good idea. I don't mind it. I really don't mind it at this point. Now, we could say on one hand, though, right, that if people did their research and looked up where their donations come from before they'd vote for them, you could nip this in the bud. But I'm not also against somebody who has a dual citizenship not being able to run for political, office in Washington, D.C. I don't necessarily have an issue with that. Generally, I don't like seeing like the hemp law, right? We got some bad actors. Get rid of all the hemp. Like, that's not a smart way to do it, because you're just destroying the livelihoods of possibly millions of people. But if you have a clear, what do they call that, conflict of interest, and your interests do not lie in what's best for the American people, and that's, shrinking the size of government and getting rid of alphabet agencies and stop taxing them and stealing their wealth, and you're all about, let's send more bombs to another country so we can use people like pawns and chess, I think maybe you shouldn't be able to run for office because there's a conflict of interest there. You should just stay home and do something else. Be a bartender.
Oh, man. I forgot what I was going to say. Oh, man. It was such a good point, too. I'm mad about this one. But unbelievable how MAGA turned everything upside down. Massey is the only true American rep we have. Trump hates everyone not backed by AIPAC, and his dumb followers call Massey a rhino. True that, warrior class.
I will say, folks, I am working to get somebody. Well, I think he's wanting to come on the show. Jesse Root, it's been years since he's been on the show. Used to run what they called the Constitutional Grassroots Movement. I think he's still a part of that. He's written a book called The Last Republican. And it's a book about Massey, like some history on him, some back history. He's written a book. It's published now. It's available on Amazon. So at some point, I'm going to have him on the show, hopefully very soon. I'm hoping maybe get a couple copies of the book we can give away to viewers, what have you. But yeah, seemingly Massey is what you would call what Republicans started out as very, very many years ago. He's like the last of that breed. I'm sure there might be a couple others in there. We just don't hear their names because they're not publicly known. There might be some other people who are close to a Massey, but Massey's like kind of the last Republican. So yeah, I will be working at getting Jesse Rude on the show soon so he can talk about his book.
I remembered what I was going to say.
Right on.
So because I kind of posted about this on X too. Could you imagine if like a Chinese national or like a group of Chinese nationals dropped $20 million to unseat someone like Lindsey Graham? Could you imagine the level of like freak out that would come from Trump and, you know, the neocon old guard, like conservative, like the basically the MAGA base would be going bananas if a bunch of Chinese dual American citizens started just donating millions and millions of dollars to politicians. Could you imagine that level of freak out? I mean, it would be all over. I bet even 60 Minutes would have run a full story on China. Are the Chinese buying our elections? But no, not a peep. Oh, are Israeli dual citizens buying our elections? No, you're not going to hear that.
It would be really hard. Like I truly believe Massey will not lose his election. I think the people of his district in Kentucky love him, and nothing's going to change that. I believe if Massey wipes the floor with his opponent, I think that he should. I think a bunch of us could find Miriam Adelson's house. Everybody take a football and just spike it on her lawn. Touchdown, you ignorant. And I'm not going to say the words, but you know what I'm saying. It would be so great. We could generate enough funds to fly a plane over her house with a banner behind it that says "Nice try, moron," and just circle her house for an hour. Just circle it. People are like, "What's that say?" Or "Nice try, Miriam." You just fly it over her house for an hour. This, brought to you by Thomas Massey, or brought to you by friends of Thomas Massey. Just fly it over her house. Just, rub it in. Like, hey, you can't own everyone, lady, or APAC. You can't own every soul in D.C. Some people are a little more principled than that. But it was a good try. I'm glad you wasted millions of dollars and lost gambling against someone who, unless you're a couple waves short of a shipwreck or the cheese fell off your cracker a long time ago, how you could ever try to defame someone like Massey. I hope you lose all your wealth. I hope like you have a horrible banking error and you just go to the bank one day and they're like, Miss Adelson, you only have $1,000 left in the bank. Like, what? Like, yeah, I guess probably shouldn't have ran against Massey. Even God himself just came down and like ripped the cash away from you. I said, didn't work out so slick, huh? Did it? You stupid. Anyway, yeah, that would make me really happy. But that's the difference between someone like Thomas Massey and myself, or some of the rest of us. Thomas Massey will be very graceful about it. If he wins, he'll call his opponent and have a nice, friendly conversation with him. I couldn't. I'd be on TV like, Miriam Adelson, suck it. Like I would be the world's biggest like jerk. Like, oh, you like that, don't you? I would.
Oh, I would. I tell you what, if I was going up against the establishment and not the Israeli lobby, the way Thomas Massey is, if I got that big dub, it'd be a 3-day party. I'd film the whole thing. I'd post it. We'd be popping champagne like I'd have a Super Bowl, like you win the Super Bowl, you have a parade. I'd have a parade in my district, and we'd be throwing candy. We'd be playing Born in the USA. Oh yeah.
And God forbid one kid gets hit by a piece of candy, the media'd be smearing over Massey supporter strikes child with candy at parade. And you're like, easy.
Oh, that's how they would frame it, no doubt. Before I just want to get something off my chest. for all of the people who were crying about Zorhan Mamdani, like were claiming that, like, because I saw some of this, people would say because Zorhan Mamdani won the New York City primary election or the New York City mayoral election, and he's Muslim, that we've forgotten 9/11. That is a real thing I saw conservatives putting. Like, there is among the conservatives, there is a huge there's a larger part of the conservative of the Republican base in America that is anti-Muslim. That's true. And if you can get into like the specifics on the doctrine of Islam, and there's a nuanced conversation we have about the religious text of Islam. Not, I'm not trying to make a big point about that or whatever. My point is this: the same people complaining about that will not have a problem with this. That's my big thing. You know who that is? That is Al-Sharaa.
Yeah.
That is the aka Al-Jilani. He's the new president of Syria and longtime Al-Qaeda member, one of the founding members of ISIS.
$10 million bounty on his head.
Yeah, $10 million bounty on his head. Here, shaking hands with Donald Trump in the White House. This was yesterday. Or this was either yesterday or Sunday, because he also went on like all of the CNN and NBC rounds. Again, don't tell me we can't platform people. Like, don't tell me we have to cancel Tucker for platforming Nick Fuentes when the president of the United States is platforming Al-Qaeda in the White House. Don't you know what I'm like? Don't tell me, oh, we can't even listen to a conversation between two people. But we can have Al-Qaeda in the White House. You're not serious people. I'm not. This is not necessarily for me to call out Austin Peterson, because I like Austin. Austin Peterson's great on economics. He's a big fan of Javier Milei and free market capitalism. But this is the same kind of thing right here. So Austin Peterson will post, when you're gay and you voted for Zorhan Mamdani, and it's got two stick figures throwing sure, right? But Zorhan Mamdani actually campaigned at gay bars on his campaign. So. But you're going to look through the rest of Austin Peterson's stuff, and you're not going to see you'll see some praises for Ben Shapiro. Lots of those, actually. But what you won't see is anything about Jolani being at the White House, about Al-Sharaa being at the White House. Not a peep. So don't give me this, oh, Muslims are so bad, but then we'll have Al-Qaeda in the White House shaking hands. Yeah, it's a guy with he's had a real troubled past. It's a troubled young man, and we're just glad he could turn his life around. Like, okay, like, you can say that Muslims are bad and you can have the conversation about Islam. I'm not going to agree with you, but we can have that conversation. But what you can't do is be like, oh, the Muslims are so bad, they're so dangerous, let's invite them to the White House, one of the worst ones ever. Sure. Okay.
Yeah, it is. I will say, I've seen a lot of people's, I will say that I've seen a lot of people, say, something about Sharia law or whatever. Supposedly I read today that, he wanted to make the buses free, and the senator or the governor of New York's already shot that down, said that's state funded. So no, we're not doing that. I will say it is a little crazy to see a Muslim in a gay bar campaigning, right? Because you go to Muslim countries and you see how they treat gay people, and it is not good. It is not good. I do find it amusing when feminists don't say anything about Muslim countries, or you see people in pride marches and they're like, Assalamu alaikum. And you're like, I don't think you know what they do to gay people. I don't think you've done your research at all. You look like an idiot. You sound like an idiot. So on those points, I'm like, it does seem a little ironic. Now, I'm not saying I don't know. I don't know the guy. I know I don't like his policies. I think his policies are stupid, and they'll ruin New York City if he's able to do any of these things. I really hope he just can't. It's some part of me wants to see every campaign promise he makes not even slightly come to fruition, just to see who his followers blame it on, right? Are they going to blame it on the governor? Are they going to blame it on city council members? Who are they going to blame it on if he can't get any of his things done? That's going to be great political theater. Yeah, I'm more concerned about, I'm not so much concerned about Sharia law with him. I mean, his policies scare me. I'm glad I don't live in New York City, or I would pay an Uber driver to drive me 3 states away. Get me as far away from here. I emptied my savings account just to take an Uber 3 states over, right? I would try to get out of there. I'm more worried about if I was a New York City resident and I had brains that I used actively, I would be more worried about what his economic policies would do to the city rather than be worried about Sharia law or something like that, because he was really hyping those up. Now, again, I don't know him personally. He might think that Muslims, like the things that Muslims believe, are all good. But generally, if you're running for a post like the mayor of New York City, you're not going to come out and say that, right? Because a lot of people are going to be like, whoa, bro. So he might believe that stuff, but if he's smart, which apparently the guy's got to be somewhat smart. He's very upbeat. You know, he's a young guy. He's got a lot of spunk. He captured the hearts of a lot of people with his stupidity, right? So he's not a dumb guy. So he can believe that stuff, but if you're smart enough to run and get all those people behind you, you're generally not going to say, yep, I don't like gays. You're going to go in that bar and you're going to go into the gay bars and campaign. But he also may not feel that way. He might have differing opinions on that part of the Muslim religion. None of us know because we don't know the guy, right? I'm more interested in watching if, like Dave here says, I hope he gets everything he wants. Therefore, we can just once again prove how crap his policy is. I almost said it. Dave, you almost got me, brother. I almost said the word you had in that comment. I wouldn't mind seeing that either. But I wouldn't mind seeing his policies go through, watching that collapse, see who they blame it on. I also would like it if he can't do any of those things, and then see who the people that follow him and seemingly have the most adoration for him, who they blame it on because he couldn't get his things done. So it's interesting political theater regardless.
Well, absolutely. No, like you're saying, he's not going to be able to get as many of the things accomplished as he wants to, not even close. And so what you're totally going to see is that every measure that he wants to implement, because I'm not sure that he's not just some sort of like Barack Obama 2.0 dark horse for the Democrat Party in a way. Like, because when you see squad members like AOC and Ilhan Omar, they vote along party lines. They're not like some radical, we're going to get Medicare for all on the floor, House floor, because they had their chance to be that. And Jimmy Dore's got a great video debunking how not progressive and how not actually for, like they claim they're like, oh, we're for the working people. We're going to get you healthcare. We're going to get you this and that. And she's not that. She says that, but then she governs like Nancy Pelosi. And so I think that's kind of what you're going to see here is that he's going to make these pushes for these things. He's going to get told no. He's going to blame the higher up and use that to propel himself higher. And so if the Democrats try to just quash everything he's doing, it's going to backfire on them. Because it's very easy to tell the Democrat, I wanted to give you things, but Kathy Hochul wouldn't fork up the money. So then who are they going to oust in the next election? Kathy Hochul. And who's going to take that spot? Zorhan Mondami. Or in 2028, when they need a president, when they're like, yeah, I can't get anything done here in New York City, just being the mayor. But if you make me president, I'm going to make free buses across the country. And that's how it's going to rise up from there. And so again, Dave's right in saying that I hope he gets everything he wants, but if him not getting what he wants is going to make him so much stronger, I think, than if he can actually get what he wants done. Because if he can actually raise corporate tax rates, or not corporate tax rates, if he can raise the highest income earnings taxes even higher, and businesses do start to leave, and the socialists start to play out, then someone like Gavin Newsom, who pretends to be more in the middle. He's going to be the nominee, and then it's going to be a Gavin Newsom versus JD Vance 2028, and we'll either get 4 more years of Trump 2.0 or we'll get 4 years of Joe Biden. So,
I mean, again, if I am running against Gavin Newsom, if I'm running campaign ads against Gavin Newsom, every commercial I run is going to be homeless encampments, poop on the streets, everything. That's what I'm running in my campaign ads. Now, is that all the bad things he's done? And did he create all that himself? Not necessarily, but he sure doesn't seem interested in fixing it all unless the president of China comes along and then he pushes the homeless all back a few streets and makes that street nice and clean as he parades the communist leader of China down the street. That's my campaign, right? That's what I'm doing all the time. 24/7. You want poop on the streets and needles everywhere and homeless encampments? Elect Gavin Newsom. That man has created his own opponent's perfect campaign videos just from the stupidity that he has seemingly watched over in California.
Don't forget, we got to sprinkle in a little bit of him arresting people at the beach for swimming while he's at the French Laundry dining maskless with all of his friends. And then we could add in a little bit of the pretending to take a phone call when he's getting questioned about the California wildfires. Just sprinkle in some of the absolute worst of Gavin Newsom on top of how just poor the standard of living is for a lot of the people in California.
Absolutely. There's just endless amounts of things that you could use against him. Just endless amounts. Just go on for days and you're just like, this is easy peasy lemon squeezy. Like, it wouldn't take a rocket scientist to get it figured out. I don't know. I just, the thought of Gavin Newsom running for office,
the political landscape of 2028 looks so dim right now. Like, you've got Trump yes man JD Vance. You could possibly get Vivek Ramaswamy, but I'm not convinced he's not just as much of a Trump yes man as the next guy in line. You got Marco Rubio, who's even more of a deep statist than JD Vance is. Again, JD Vance's uprising is weird. Like a Peter Thiel underling of giant corporate hedge fund money. I don't know, dude. Just his whole, I don't know. I don't trust his political uprising very much to not be full. Just chock full of people with bad people willing to compromise his just compromising him with their donation money. Like, he seems like a sleazebag. Rubio's a sleazebag. Newsom's a sleazebag. AOC's a lying sleazebag. Well, I guess they're all lying sleazebags. I've never felt so like defeated by what looks like going to be the presidential tickets for 2028.
Yeah, it's not looking great, but when does it really ever? Good God Almighty! When does it ever really look promising? Unless Ron. Now, if Thomas Massey's running, it would be a great thing, right? You'd have some hope. And again, let's hypothesize here. Let's say Thomas Massey goes, I'm going to run for president. And man, as he's primarying, what are his opponents going to say? It's all going to be anti-Semite, or he didn't vote for this in the shutdown, or he didn't vote for this policy. But the thing is, Thomas Massey is not the type to go to like dance around it. He's going to be like, he's going to know exactly what you're talking about. And he's going to say, do you know why exactly I voted no on that? I'll tell you why. He's going to list all the other things that were in that bill that the other people forgot to mention. And I would just like to see how his opponents would try to trash him, because they don't have anything good. They've got BS. They've got anti-Semite or anti-American or anti-MAGA, but they don't have any good firm foundation and anything really based in real fact to run against him. It's all going to be the dumbest things that you could put in a video or on some kind of glossy, again, God forbid, 2026 and 2028. Let's put the word out to these people who send out all these campaign flyers, right? Republican, Democrat, whatever. Please stop sending the toilet paper with sharp corners and glossy stuff. Send it on toilet paper in black and white print that doesn't transfer to skin, and make it 3-ply, because I just look at them for 2 seconds, I laugh, and I go right in a trash can. I can't wipe my butt with them because I'm afraid of paper cuts, and it's glossy, so nothing sticks to it. So if you're going to send out your campaign stuff, send it on 3-ply like Cottonelle bathroom tissue, and at least let me put it to one more good use before it goes away. That's my only ask.
That's really funny. I actually, now that you mention it, I think I'm going to get some Miriam Adelson printed toilet paper for my house. It's just going to be all prints of her.
So wiping your butt with Miriam Adelson every day. Jesus, that would be funny. Get your new APAC toilet paper. Massey's anti-Semite. You're like, oh, that. It's a big brown smear on it. Like, I can't even read it anymore.
I do. I want to kind of mention what Warrior Class is saying in the comments here, because I think she brings whoever Warrior Class is, he or she, they bring up an interesting, like, again, I don't agree with that, like the only white people, thing in there, but I will say that without a homogenous society, not homogenous, but like if you don't have a country of people who are willing to like step up for their neighbor, if you don't have like good societal values in your country, then it doesn't matter what style of government you have implemented in, it's gonna be chaos. And people are gonna, like, no matter what style of government you have, people are gonna degrade society. If you have a bunch of if your society is full of degenerates, you're gonna have a poor functioning society. No matter what style of government you really have, you can offer the most protections you can for the individual. But again, if you were liberty minded and every single one of your neighbors was thieves and the cops were thieves, and then it wouldn't matter what style of government you have. You'd still just be on guard 24/7.
Yeah. Protecting that precious jewel of liberty, as some of the founders used to write. Again, I remember when Bill Eigel was running for governor of Missouri, and I had him on the show, and I noticed, like, even he had a little like facial like expression change for just a second. When I said, we as people, even let's say that Bill Eigel gets elected, I was like, we still have to pay attention. We still have to keep him on track. And he kind of like this for a second. I'm like, dude, that's the way it is. That's just like it. Ron Paul could be president, and I'm still going like, I'm still paying attention. I still want to make sure he's staying on track. It doesn't matter who it is. That's just common lazy behavior in this country that people just go, well, my guy's in office now, so whoop-de-doo. And it's like, that's not how it works. You have to keep paying attention to what these people are doing. You can't just, do whatever. So
what you're saying is kind of like the beauty of libertarianism and liberty-minded people is that even if Thomas Massey was president, like, we're excited about that because of the principles that are going to follow his election. The second he started betraying that, he would be enemy number one, just like Trump, just like Joe Biden. Like, the second they start putting, the second he would start, supporting the deep state and supporting foreign wars, we would be all over him. And there would be no pass because he's our guy. You wouldn't see a cult following of Thomas Massey. His approval rating would be 1%. because 99% of his supporters would leave him for not being principled. That's why we love him so much.
Yeah, you don't generally see Thomas Massey supporters hammering him for anything. It's always thank you for standing up for what's right. The people that you see bashing him have not liked Thomas Massey ever. Or it depends on what Trump says, or what somebody else says is how they look at Massey. So, if they say something, it's like, yeah, whatever, dude. Like, I don't even pay attention. Again, the things they say are so dumb and unfounded that, it's like, if I ever see you in public, I'm going to literally have to look at you and go, I can't take you seriously, like, at all, dude. You are a joke of a human being. Like, I just want to punch you right in the suck hole for being that stupid, right? So we got right at 5 minutes left, Brandon. If anything else you want to add before we shut down the show here?
Still against war against Venezuela. Haven't seen anything about that. The United States dropped its 80th round of bombs on Somalia. That is credit to Dave DeCamp at antiwar.com. Yeah, I mean, it is kind of an exciting time to see, my libertarian icons like Dave Smith and Scott Horton, and even Clint Russell and guys like that who's got the Liberty Lock Pod. I'm excited to see like they're getting a larger voice in the internet space. And so what I'm really hoping is that sometime in the near future, which for me is like sometime in the next 5 years, you'll see a real renaissance of libertarian ideals start sweeping. Because, I mean, if guys like Tucker Carlson are going to regularly have libertarians on, and guys who are willing to push the narrative on whether or not, what government should and shouldn't be doing, we could be very close to seeing something like that, especially if Trump, like I said, if he keeps supporting people like Randy Fine and won't support and keeps trying to primary people like Thomas Massey, there's going to be a break where a lot of conservatives are just not on board with that team anymore. Again, like Trump hasn't released the Epstein files. He's escalating the drug war and the war on terror in one move. Apparently I heard a report. This was also from antiwar.com that the United States is going to build a military base on the border of Israel and Gaza. And so, I mean, at a certain point, America First is just going to get fed up with this. And America First is going to mean something totally different than MAGA pretty soon, or at least that's what I can hope.
Absolutely. All right, folks. Well, that's going to do it for this week's edition of the Missouri Liberty Report. Again, to those of you who watch on YouTube, Rumble, or Facebook, we greatly appreciate you, as well as those of you who listen on any podcasting app or at molibertyradio.us. Continued appreciation of your viewership, listenership, and support. I would just ask, if you find us on a podcasting app or on any of these other sites, that you would subscribe, like, leave a review, a rating, what have you, so that more people can find the Liberty message that we put out once a week. All right, that's going to do it. We look forward to seeing you all back here next week, Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. Also, just a reminder to the local folks here, if you happen to hear this, if you're ever on Main Street from Wednesday through Saturday, I believe noon to 5, there's an art gallery on Main Street here in Owensville. If you happen to be in the area, hop on in, check it out. Some of my photographs are now hanging for sale in the art gallery here in Owensville. And so maybe somebody wants to buy one of my crappy pictures. I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, thanks again, everybody. Greatly appreciate each and every one of you who continue the fight for liberty and being principled and standing up for what's right. We greatly appreciate each and every one of you. And we'll see you all next week right here on the Missouri Liberty